Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it is your first time here. Thank you so much for joining me as we progress into the next stage of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Today, we're starting our series preview videos for the conference finals in the East with the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. We're getting a rematch of the 2023 playoffs, or the 2023 Eastern Conference Final, where we saw the Florida Panthers sweep the Carolina Hurricanes to advance to the Stanley Cup Final, which they eventually did lose to Vegas, but they got it right back the next year. And I think that's one of the most interesting storylines about this particular matchup is not only is it a rematch, but in the event that Florida manages to win, they're going to be going to their third consecutive Stanley Cup final, which is absolutely insane. As for Carolina, I believe this will be their first Stanley Cup finals appearance since 2006 when they won. They beat my Edmonton Oilers, so I could be wrong on that, but I'm like 95% sure that that is the case. The craziest thing about this is in the event that either of these teams advance, it'll be the first time back in the finals since beating the Oilers. So if the Oilers make it to the Stanley Cup final this year, they have a chance to get revenge. Either this specific group is going to be able to get revenge against the Panthers team that beat them last year, or they're going to be avenging a 2006 roster that doesn't consist of any of the players on the team in the current day. One of the interesting things about Carolina in this matchup is they got swept by the Panthers in 2023. They also got swept by the Boston Bruins in 2019 in the conference finals. So they have yet to win a game in the conference finals over their last few appearances. I would really like to think they're not going to do that again this time around. Now, as I usually do with these playoff preview videos, I like to start off by a little introduction and then giving you guys my prediction and then diving into the details that follow. So we'll do that as we do. One thing to mention before. Part of the reason why I delayed my Oilers Stars preview video was because, as you guys maybe haven't kept track of, my series preview videos for the second round, I was actually utilizing some articles from The Athletic. Obviously, all those videos are on my account, and the articles that I referenced were linked in the description. Unfortunately, I have yet to see them post their series preview articles for the conference finals matchups. I'm not sure if they're just maybe not doing them. I can't see why they wouldn't, but I don't really have the time to wait anymore. I've had very busy days at work, and then I also do I do some stuff at night, like some schooling stuff for journalism. So my schedule is very crammed, and I don't have as much time as I would like to make these videos. So I didn't have the time to wait for that article anymore. I just had to dive in and make the videos whenever I had the chance, which is right now. And then obviously there's a mix of like having such a busy schedule, but then also needing to take the time to watch these games so that I can continue to make these videos and not sound like a complete buffoon when I don't reference proper things that happened. Like I think I've been pretty good and fair in all of my analysis that I've done on TikTok, which my TikTok is always linked in the description. I would highly recommend if you actually found this YouTube video on YouTube, you don't know who I am. My TikTok content is kind of the same as this, maybe a little bit more casual. And there's been a lot of really fun discussions and things on there. So if you're from the TikTok, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come check out this video. If you're not, go check out my TikTok. But in replacement of the Athletic article, we are going to be using Daily Faceoff today. Now, I do use Daily Faceoff for my line combos, as you guys have seen on my previous videos. I am going to still be using the line combos to compare the teams, but we're also going to be using their series preview article to I guess just make sure I have some numbers right here on the screen that I can read out, because I don't have the memory to remember all of those numbers right off the top of my head. One thing to make very clear before I continue. I announced this on my TikTok. I have a really hard time watching the Carolina Hurricanes. I find them to be they're a great hockey team. They're also a very boring hockey team. Both of those things can be true at the same time. So I I after the first like I think 2 games of the Carolina Washington series, I literally told everyone on my TikTok, guys, I can't watch this anymore. And I just admitted it. I genuinely stopped watching that series. It was way too boring. I couldn't do it anymore. So I decided to just stop watching it. So I can't sit here and tell you guys that I have the most like amazing understanding of the Carolina Hurricanes and the way that they've been playing this season or this playoff. For the most part, I still know. It's just not going to be like the most you know, amazing thing in the world and the most amazing analysis on their end. I feel like I have a lot more to say about the Florida Panthers. I watched every game they've played so far in the playoffs and did a lot of very close focus on the team against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I did just pull up the playoff stats for the teams because I want to obviously talk about special teams as well as goaltending numbers. So we'll get into that in a second. But let's start with the easy stuff. The line combo. Oh, my prediction actually is first. I'm going with the Florida Panthers in 6 games. I don't really think that's a hot take. I do think the Panthers are going to go back to the Stanley Cup final. I do think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be extremely motivated to win this series because, they're a team that's been favorited to win the Stanley Cup so many years in a row. Not really like the number one favorites, but they've always kind of been like in the top 4, and they always, always fall short. So I really think they're going to be extra motivated to get the job done this year and finally stop choking. But man, this Florida team is so good. And as an Oilers fan who watched this team win the cup last year and had my heart broken, it sucks to say that. It really sucks to have to admit that this team looks just as good as they did in the like they really do look like the Stanley Cup winners from last year. There's a few things different. Matthew Tkachuk isn't really as big of an impact player. I don't think Bobrovsky has looked as consistently good as he did last year in the playoffs, but like in a few of those games against the Leafs, he looked absolutely lights out. So it's scary, man. And that third line last year was really good. It's actually better now with Brad Marchand on it, which is like it's just not fair. Like that's really the best way to put it. It's truly not fair. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with this Florida team, but I'm going Panthers in 6. So as per usual, I will have the line combos up on either side of the screen so you guys can directly compare them and see what I'm talking about, see where I'm looking. I do only have, actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up a second tab so that I can just flip between tabs as opposed to needing to like only go one team at a time. We're going to go line by line this time around. We're going to change it up a little bit. Starting with the Florida Panthers, which they'll be on this side. The first line of Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, and Evan Rodriguez. Now, Barkov and Reinhart have been two of Florida's 5 best scorers as far as point production. Barkov has 10 points through 2 rounds. Reinhart has 11. Now, if you do the math on that, they played 7 games against the Leafs. They played 5 against the Lightning. That's 12. So they're both just under a point per game in the playoffs so far, but they're still generating really well, and they're also the 2 best defensive forwards, pretty much. Like Barkov and him are both Selke nominees, which is baffling. Not because it's shocking, but the fact that we have 2 line mates that are both nominated for the Selke is remarkable. They've both been really good. And then Evan Rodriguez, the guy had a really rough series against the Leafs. He got hit from behind, and I think the second game, and then he got blindside hit by Tanev, I believe, in game 4. So he missed some time in the series, but he's still a good player. He's a guy that can make a difference. He's a guy that can score the big goal when you need it. Compared to Carolina's first line of Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, and Andrei Svechnikov, if we look at those guys, Jarvis is tied with Aho for the most points so far for the Carolina Hurricanes. They've won both of their series, both of their series respectively in 5 games. So 10 games played, 10 points for Jarvis, 10 points for Aho, 9 for Svechnikov. So they've all been hovering right around that point per game area. Seth Jarvis has been an incredible 2-way forward for Carolina, which is always great. You can never complain about that. Aho and Svechnikov are both very special players that can make a huge difference. in my opinion, I am going to take Florida's first line here. I just think the upside of Barkov and Reinhart is a little bit higher than those guys on Carolina's first line. What I will say though is I feel like Carolina's line maybe has a bit more consistency. Like I think Evan Rodriguez is obviously the worst player between these two lines. But there is a pretty big gap between Barkov and Reinhart, and then like Jarvis and Aho, if you asked me. As for the second line, Sam Bennett centering Matthew Tkachuk and Carter Verhaeghe. Sam Bennett has been really, really great for the Florida Panthers this playoff. Not only is he producing, but he's doing his job of being an absolute pest, getting in people's heads, just being really annoying to deal with. Matthew Tkachuk has been very underwhelming, obviously. It is very clear that he is pretty severely injured, and I'm kind of surprised that, honestly, he's playing. I mean, he can barely move. Like, it's hard to watch. One thing that I noticed a lot in the series against the Leafs, how many times, the Panthers had a power play and they would give the puck to Tkachuk, and he would, turn it over because he can't play physical. He would lose it, like losing the puck consistently. Yeah, not a good look whatsoever. Carter Verhaeghe, on the other hand, had a really rough regular season, but has, he's raised the bar for himself in the playoffs. He has played, like a guy, like a playoff performer. So props to him for that. And that's a strong second line. You can't complain about that second line. We've got the second line in Carolina, which is Jack Roslovich, Logan Stankoven, and Taylor Hall. These guys actually haven't been too bad for Carolina, but again, personally, I am going to give the edge to Florida. It's close though, but I mean, I've just really liked Bennett's game. I think Verhaeghe's playing really well. The biggest downside here is Matthew Tkachuk, who obviously is hurt, but I want to find. I think I can find it really quickly here. Yeah, Matthew Tkachuk still has 9 points. Like, he's still doing a pretty decent job. Not as good as you would like, of course, but for being hurt to have 9 points in has he played a full I'm not sure if he played all the games they've played. Sorry guys, one more second. Yeah, 12 games played, so he has played every game. So under a point per game, but with the injury he's sustaining, you can't really complain about that. Moving on to the third lines. I don't even need to read it out, man. Anton Lundell, Eetu Luostarinen, and Brad Marchand. This is the best third line in hockey all day, every day. There's no debate, in my opinion. Looking at the stats, looking at the numbers of these guys in specific, we have Luostarinen, who is ninth in playoff scoring with 12 points in 12 games. So he's at a point per game. Brad Marchand is actually ahead of him at 8th, but he's also 12 points in 12 games. So there's probably some other minor numbers that have him ahead. But, like, these guys are generating at a ridiculous rate. Lundell should be here somewhere. There he is. 12 games, 10 points. So every single guy on their third line has double digits in points, which is absolutely absurd. Lundell's got 4 goals. Luostarinen's got 3 goals. Marchand has 3 goals. Like, this is insane stuff. Carolina's third line is kind of like a shutdown line. Carrier, Stahl, and Martinook. Jordan Stahl actually hasn't been as great defensively as, he usually is based on the numbers. But I don't really like their chances against that Florida third line right at the moment. And then the fourth line of Florida, we have Thomas Nosek, Jonah Gadjevich, and AJ Greer. A fourth line that did quite a bit of damage to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the second round versus Kotkaniemi, Jackson Blake, and Eric Robinson. Actually, a pretty good fourth line there in Carolina. I think based on pure talent alone, I would definitely give this one to Carolina. I'm really high on Jackson Blake, and Kotkaniemi is not a bad hockey player for your fourth line. I would be very interested to see, like, the Leafs are famous for allowing, like, the most random people to, like, score goals on them, especially in the playoffs. So, like, I don't know if this fourth line in Florida would have dominated or played as well as they did against, like, any other team. It kind of feels like one of those things that they just played really well against the Leafs. So I am going to give the fourth line to the Carolina Hurricanes, but in my opinion, there's really no argument to make that in favor of Carolina having the better forward depth. it is possible. I unfortunately don't have all the advanced stats at my fingertips. It is a little bit easier for me to come into contact with those numbers when it's the Oilers because I'm an Oilers fan and I see all kinds of Oilers stuff on Twitter. I just want to say that my preview video for for Dallas and Edmonton is going to have all kinds of advanced stats and things of that nature. This prediction is a little bit more like gut feeling, eye test sort of thing. For me personally, this Florida depth is just unbelievable, and I think they are going to. I think they are going to manage to be a lot to handle for the Carolina Hurricanes. Although I want to say, give me 1 second here just to browse this really quickly. Okay, so they have the ninth best ranked offense at 3.24 goals per game. So very meh, in my opinion, based on this article at least. Moving on to the defense of both teams, we've got the first pairing in Florida, Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad. I'm not very high on Aaron Ekblad. I am very high on Gustav Forsling. I really like this first pairing. I think Forsling is able to kind of pick up the mess that Ekblad can leave at times. And you know what? I will say the first pairing in Carolina is actually kind of similar. You've got Jacob Slavin, who is the best defensive defenseman in the league. Forsling is also one of the best defensive defensemen, and they're both playing with kind of like a more offensively minded guy. Brent Burns with Slavin. I do think Ekblad is currently better than Brent Burns, however, so I am going to say that the better first pairing is Florida just based on consistency. Second pairing in Florida is Nico Mikkola with Seth Jones. Seth Jones had a pretty huge game against the Leafs last night in Game 7. I'm not high on him, though. I am high on Mikkola. I think Mikkola is a really good defenseman compared to Alexander Nikishin and Dmitry Orlov. So this is kind of unfair. I think in most cases this would be Jalen Chatfield on the second pairing with Orlov. He is injured, I believe. He is out, apparently, like full on out. So we're going to assume he's not going to play in this series. Um, there's really no sample size on Nikishin as an NHLer to compare. So the second pairing is going to go to Florida kind of by default. And then Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker to finish out Carolina's group versus Nate Schmidt and Dmitry Kulikov. I am going to give this one to Carolina. I've been very fond of Gostisbehere's game these playoffs, and I think Sean Walker is like one of those guys who's kind of just silently good. You never really notice him, but he's good. The thing about Carolina as a defensive team, they do a really good job of suffocating teams and their shot chances. So it's more of a collaborative effort as opposed to just the straight up decor. I am going to give the defense a draw despite taking majority of Florida's defensive pairings just because of the defensive game that, not that Florida doesn't play a defensive game, but that is Carolina's identity. So I am going to give the nod to the draw in this case. And then moving into the goaltending matchup, which is a very interesting thing to discuss and talk about at the moment. I think you guys will be very interested to hear these numbers if you don't already know. Frederik Andersen currently leads the playoffs in goals against average with 1.36, which is absolutely remarkable, man. That is crazy. Save percentage, he also leads with a 937, which is the highest by a pretty significant margin. Jake Ottinger follows just behind him with a 0.919. So it's a pretty significant difference. Looking at Sergei Bobrovsky for Florida, he's not even in the top. Oh, sorry. That is a complete lie. His goals against average is actually third with 2.31. His save percentage is a 0.901. So based on these numbers that we're looking at right here, the better goaltending is the Carolina Hurricanes at the moment. But when they're both playing at their best, Sergei Bobrovsky is the better goaltender. Frederik Andersen has a history of either kind of falling apart or getting injured. I'm obviously not praying for either of those things to happen, but I am going to give the goaltending edge to the Carolina Hurricanes right now. You can't not. You really just can't. Like, the numbers are so far apart. Like, it's almost like a whole 1 goal difference in the goals against average category. A 1.36 to a 2.31. Like, that is a crazy big jump. So I am going to give it to Carolina. And now we'll move into the special teams. Carolina Hurricanes actually are at the top of like the whole team list, I guess, based on the wins and the record. But with that being said, they have a power play percentage of 28.1, which is quite good, and a penalty kill percentage of 93.3. So they have an amazing penalty kill and a really, really, really good power play through 2 rounds. They did play the New Jersey Devils in the first round, which I do feel like kind of skewed those numbers, gave them like it makes their numbers look really good. The Florida Panthers, however, have a 20.5% power play, which I think is also kind of skewed by the fact that their power play was horrible to finish out the series versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then they have the 89.5% penalty kill. So, in my opinion, not really in my opinion, the numbers are literally telling it to you right to your face. Carolina does have the better special teams, at least through 2 rounds. Obviously, everything that I'm bringing up right now could be subject to change. Frederik Andersen could have a 5 goals against average in the conference finals for all we know, but all we can do is look at the data that has been compiled through 2 rounds, and all I can do is reiterate that to you and tell you what I think it means. So I'm going to give the special teams to Carolina. I feel like this is a pretty even conclusion. I think this game, like this series, I think is maybe a bit closer than some people would like to admit. I do still think Florida is going to gain the edge, just kind of a little bit more on the explosive side. And I would, again, trust Bobrovsky to have some games where he's just unstoppable and you can't get anything by him. X factors in this series for me personally, the third line in Florida is their X factor. If they can continue to play the way they have been playing, they're going to make everyone's lives significantly easier on their own team. The X factor in the Carolina series, in my opinion, is going to be Frederik Andersen once again. I think if Frederik Andersen falters and can't, not that he has to maintain the numbers he has, because those are pretty ridiculous numbers to keep for an extended period of time, but if he falters and plays like maybe some of the old Frederik Andersen that we've already seen in the past, it could get ugly for Carolina. Those are my X factors for me. If you disagree, you disagree. But I am going to be going with the Florida Panthers in 6 games. They're going to be going back to their 3rd consecutive Stanley Cup final. For those of you that are wondering what my record is in these playoffs as far as predictions go, I was 6 for 8 in the first round. The 2 matchups I got wrong were Colorado and Dallas, and then Tampa and Florida. I picked Tampa and Colorado. In the second round, though, I did go 4 for 4. I picked the winning team in every single series. So hopefully we can continue that momentum into this next round. Florida in 6 is my final prediction. I don't think there's anything I forgot to talk about that I was really like hoping to or expecting to. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will be recording my Oilers Stars preview either tomorrow after work or Wednesday after work. If I do record it Wednesday after work, obviously it's going to be a record it, finish recording, and immediately edit it because I want to get the video out before 8 p.m. on Wednesday night because that's when the first game is. This video will be out before the first Panthers game, so don't worry about that. And I hope you guys all enjoyed. Well, you guys obviously know that. You're literally watching it right now. I'm kind of talking to myself here. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, the link to this article from Daily Faceoff will be in the description below, along with my TikTok. If you're not from my TikTok by some miracle, please go check that out. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Comment down below your predictions for the series. Do you agree or disagree with me? And if you really like the content, I would always appreciate any subscriptions. So I hope to catch you guys again. And yeah, I guess we'll see. We can come back and laugh at this if I was ridiculously wrong, but hopefully I won't be. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.